We're living in a fairy tale, in the middle of the sea. I'm so for real, sipping my ginger ale, and I'm on a cloud, and I am not coming down. I am not coming down, as long as you around. On a cloud.
Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Talia Tees. If you're new here, please go ahead and hit that subscription button and hit the notification bell so that you'll know when Talia is dropping that tea. So we are back with a new series. It is on Stars and produced by 50 Cent. I previously was a huge Power fan, so I gotta say I'm super excited about this. It's called BMF or Black Mafia Family, and it's based on a true story. So this is on the life of two brothers by the name of Terry and Demetrius, better known as Big Meech. So you might have heard Rick Ross, declare before, I think I'm Big Meech, Larry Hoover, I'm whipping work, hallelujah. Well, yes, that's who they talking about. So these brothers really came and just changed the drug game. In recent histories, we really haven't seen too many people or heard of too many organizations that were able to do what they did. So I'm super excited to dig into this, especially considering, personally, my mother, she is the type that loves this type of shoot 'em up, bang, bang stuff. So I had my PhD in all things gangster by the age of 6. Every chronicle of the Godfather, even my Cubanos making their way over to Miami and mounting that saddle to become them cocaine cowboys, a la Scarface. Goodfellas, Casino, all that type of stuff. I'm here for it. So I am super excited. I can't wait to see what this series is going to do. And let's go ahead and get talkative. So we open up and we see Big Meech coming down the block. He's in his full-length fur. All his jewelry is just glistening. And he approaches his homeboy, Rolly, who's sitting on the porch. So they embrace each other. You know how men do. And basically, Rolly mentions that he hadn't seen him in 2 to 3 years. It's been so long. And they walk up the block to this popping ass block party. I mean, everybody's out there dancing, having fun. It really looks like a good time. And, basically his homeboy just let him know, you and your brother, y'all are legends out here. Ain't nobody ever been able to come up out of the southwest of Detroit and do what y'all did. And to the community, they were like rock stars and kings in one. So as he's saying this to Meech kind of starts to reflect and he just kind of thinks back. And we go back into the 70s where we see him and his little brother, Terry. They're in the kitchen and Terry's standing in the refrigerator looking to see if it's anything in there to eat. And honestly, all I see is a big ass block of government cheese. So the daddy come in there and he's like, y'all need to come on and get ready for school. And Meech, I can't wait to hear about your first day. So Meechie's going to be working at Wendy's. And today's his first day. So we see him with his little uniform on. But meanwhile, the brother, he like, I'm hungry. I want something to eat or whatever. So mama ends up coming downstairs and she basically encourages him to go on ahead and eat the leftover bowl of cereal that Meech was eating on earlier. So, I don't know, but it looks like the times ain't too good. So they might need to go on around to that child line. But anywho, we also get a little glimpse of their little sister who comes running down the stairs. And we see how affectionate mama and daddy is. So when mama came through, he gave her this little kiss and told her, after what you did to me last night, girl, I almost didn't make it. So we find out that the old ass mom and dad are still sexually active. Yay. All right. So then we see a convenience store and Meech comes walking out of it and he doesn't have that Wendy's uniform on anymore, right? So Terry notices that and he's like, dude, you ain't working at Wendy's. So, Meech, he's the big brother. So he's like, dude, don't worry about what I'm doing. But just know that once I get on, we ain't going to be sharing milk and clothes no more. Okay? So then Terry's like, what, you going up to the rock house? And I assume that must mean like the crack house, trap house, whatever. But he was like, you at the rock house? And he was like, yeah. So he said, well, I'm going with you. And he's like, nah, your Poindexter ass ain't coming nowhere with me. And at that moment, we see this beautiful Benz pull up, and it's Wood Harris. So some of y'all might remember Wood Harris from the infamous culture classic Paid in Full. Now, I personally remember the Titans, where he was the little football player during the civil rights movement. But it looks like he done found his way back to his rightful place as drug kingpin, because he is playing Pat. And we find out that that's Meechie's real boss. So he stops and he says, "Hey, Meech, you coming to work today?" So then Terry jumps in and he's like, "Well, you going to have to take both of us. I'm coming too." And he was like, "Nah, I can only pay for just one person." So then Meech go and hop in the car. They go a few feet, then they stop, and you see the back car open. So then the little brother Terry goes and run in. So Big Meech is actually narrating this story. So we kind of hear thoughts of his as the scenes are playing out. So he basically says at that point, the day that his little brother got in that car with him, they never could have even imagined the life that they were about to have. They were about to be kings from that moment on. And it is getting good. So now we back in the 80s, and we see Meechie and Terry. They pull up to the city championship basketball game. And, they kind of talking about the fact that the reason why they're there is because some of the 12th Street gang boys wanted to talk to them about something. And Terry suspects that it's probably to, tell them to go ahead and bag back. Because you know how it gets with that whole dope gang infringing on territories and whatnot. So they enter into the building, and we notice that Meechie goes off into a locker room with this look like a little white boy, maybe Italian, Hispanic, but he looked like he might work for the school. But they go off into a locker room, and him and Meech exchange money for a gun. So even though they picked this meeting spot because it's a lot of cops around, they figured they wouldn't have guns, we see Meech trying to be proactive and going and getting a piece anyway. So they walk in the room, and J-Mo, which is the leader, who looked just like Big Sean, by the way. I don't know if it's because they in Detroit and so they went and got his cousin or whatever, but J-Mo looked like Big Sean. But anywho, J-Mo don't waste no time. He gets up and he said, first of all, fuck the 50 boys. So, by the way, the 50 boys is the name of their group. So Terry and Meechie, they have a group called the 50 boys. And the reason why they call themselves that is because their bags of crack are $50. So J-Mo, he kind of continues on and says, he did put him on, and he did give him a little spot so that he could try to carve out, a little territory. But he just found out that he's literally a pinky toe from the 12th Street territory. And I'm going to need for you to go ahead and back up. So Meechie, he basically says, I don't know what you're talking about, because the territory that we are in is in D-Town. This was uncharted. We stuck our claim here and put our flag down and got it popping. And now you're going to ask us to leave? So J-Mo goes, nah, I'm telling you, you got to get out of there or body's going to drop. So Meech surprisingly still tries to be diplomatic. And he's like, well, hold on, because it's enough for all of us to eat. All we got to do is pull our resources together and we can get this cracking and be like the Italian Mafia. We can do this. Well, one of Big Sean's, not Big Sean, one of J-Mo, Big Sean little cousin down here, J-Mo, one of his little cronies or whatever you want to call it, henchmen, he steps up and basically says, this ain't no negotiation. We not sitting here trying to tell y'all what we suggest. This is what y'all gonna do, or we going to war. So Meech was like, well, then fuck it then. Let's go ahead and go. We'll go ahead and get it cracking. Y'all can get it cracking, and we gonna do what it do. So they get to going back and forth, and Terry pulls out a gun. Terry, what is you doing? So basically, J-Mo kind of taunts him because Terry doesn't have that same image and bravado like Meech does. He's the good one. He's the one in school. He's the one that's supposed to be on the right track. So he kind of almost laughed at it like, oh, he got a little pow and think he's doing something. So Meech, just tries to take control of the situation, and he relents. He goes ahead and gives up the territory, and J-Mo decides that he's going to go ahead and let Terry ride for pulling that burner up on him. So we see Meech and Terry go back home, and they kind of get into it in the room because obviously Meech is like, dude, we ain't never discussed bringing no guns to no meeting. You can't just do that without, just saying anything. So Terry was like, well, basically you just made us look like hoes over there because they just gonna be able to get away with this. We done just gave away the territory that earns us 50% of our profits. So Meech was like, but if we would have pushed forward, we don't have the bodies to go to war with nobody right now. We go to war with somebody, they gonna kill off most of our, tribe. So we can't really do all that right now. And anyway, we got a product that will create demand and they gonna follow us anyway. So then Terry, because again, he's kind of the brains of the operation. He's the one, Meech is the muscle, but Terry is the one that's a little more methodical, a little more, calculated. So he said, well, at the end of the day, we still getting our stuff from Pat on consignment. So we have a ceiling here because as much as he's going to give us, that's as far as we going to be able to go. So we going to have to talk to him. So Meech kind of shuts it down and he says, I hear what you're saying and all that, but you need to get this dang on gun out here before mama and daddy finds it. And literally right on cue, their mother walks in the room and they start scrambling to put it up in the dresser. So they all go down. They meet in the kitchen. They're joined at the table with their little sister, and we see a little childish banter that goes on between the two. So they sit down and they start talking, and the sister brings up that she has this upcoming field trip, and the mama kind of shuts it down. Well, Meech, he basically says, don't even worry about that. She's going to go on her field trip. I got the money. So the daddy snaps and says, we ain't taking your money. And then, it just kind of like stifles everyone because it's just like, whoa. So at that point, they all started talking about Terry. They switched the conversation to Terry and they start bragging about how last semester he did so well. We can't wait to see how things are going to turn out this year to ensure that it wasn't a fluke and, all this praise. So we see Michi kind of almost, dying inside a little bit. He looks totally devastated because it's clear that they look at them in different lights. So he excuses himself from the table and leaves. But I am getting some prodigal son vibes here. And I don't like it. I don't like the way that they're making a difference. But anywho, we go across town to the Big Coney Island restaurant. And we see a new character named Lamar. So he comes in and he asks for a loose burger with chili cheese fries and put some extra cheese on it. So the poor little guy at the counter, Jeremy, he basically tell him that they don't sell that no more. And Lamar asks, where's Duca? So the guy at the counter, he's like, well, you must be talking about Daniel. He was the old owner and he left a few weeks ago downtown. And now I'm going to be managing it. So Lamar, he kind of lashes out and he's like, well, Coney's is for downtown and Loose Burgers is for the hood. And something ain't supposed to change. Some things ain't supposed to change, excuse me. So Jeremy, the cashier, he basically just says, okay, well, I just want you to go ahead and step to the side. And when you determine what you want to order, we'll come back. To which Lamar takes that young man's head and slams it down on the counter. So now he all crying, holding his face and trying to stop the bleeding. And he lets him know, look, when you see Duca, let him know Lamar Silas is back in town. And I expect for things to go back the way that they were. And he leaves. Meanwhile, in the back, we see J-Mo and his little friends cowered down like the rest of the patrons, looking at him like, yeah, that crazy. So Meech makes his way down to Pat's and, they all in there just shooting pool, talking trash, like men do. But Pat actually tells him, I heard that you gave up your territory to the 12th Street Gang. And Meech was like, well, what was I supposed to do? Fight him? Pat was like, yeah, if somebody's stepping on your toes, you don't just move to the side. Besides, Lamar Silas just touched down. So one of the guys in the room or whatever you want to call it, the rec room, he says, Yeah, ain't he that one dude that kidnapped that rapper? Had him up there butt ass naked next to a beehive. Stung him all the way up until his old lady coughed up the cash. So everybody's just looking like, damn. So Meech was like, so is he like the boogeyman or some shit? So Pat just basically let him know, the point that I'm trying to make is competition is fierce. And the wolves and the vultures, they are coming. So you have to prepare and you have to get ready to protect your stuff. But anywho, you better be dressed at my party. So Pat, apparently he having a little party or whatever. And Meech let him know, yeah, we gonna be there and we gonna be best dressed. Everybody gonna know our name once we done. So then over at the park, we see Meech and Terry meet up with the 50 boys, they little, gang or whatever. And they show them that this is the new location that they're going to be working in. Because remember, J-Mo and them told them they got to go. So as they're talking, this older woman comes walking up and we find out that this is Miss Griffin. And Miss Griffin basically let them know that she knows what they trying to do up in this park. And if they think they going to get it popping, they thinking wrong, right? So Meech, he got his little sad boy affair. So he, kind of sweet talks her and then he shoos her off. And then he immediately turns to them and said, fuck Miss Griffin. So after that, we see Meech go to a diamond field. It looks like somebody's having like a baseball game. And it's wrapping up and we meet Detective Bryant. So he's, I guess, the coach or whatever. So yeah, I'm going to tell y'all, my little green butt, when I first saw this scene, I really believed what he was saying. So Meech goes up to Detective Bryant and he was like, hey, so I just wanted to see if you could help me out here because I'm trying to get a baseball team going down at the E-Course Rec Center. But the problem is, I'm going to need a little bit of shelter because on the field it gets really hot. So my little slow butt really thought this young man was really trying to get a baseball team going. But this is all cold talk. So then Detective Bryant says to him, well, what you gonna do about the umpire? And he was like, well, that's what I basically came out here for, to see if you could handle that for me. Girl, I'm not even going to continue on with that. I'm just going to bring them pieces together when we get to that scene. So moving forward, we get to the high school and Terry is in class. They have a substitute teacher and he decided he want to talk about Karl Marx. So meanwhile, he has this classmate named Kwame, and Kwame is just like completely obsessed with him because every opportunity they get, he just goes for Terry. So the teacher basically asked him, do they agree that men cannot see beyond their own material self-interest? And to that, Kwame says that Descartes says, I think, therefore I am. And that's what separates us from animals. We can do anything we want if we put our minds to it, like pulling out if we don't have rubbers, and looks at Terry. So Terry retorts with, well, at least my get hard. So the whole class just explodes in laughter or whatever. So then, Kwame makes another joke about teen pregnancy, just further irritating Terry. And then finally, the teacher tries to take control and he engages Terry and they start talking. But Kwame just can't resist and he jumps in and asks, so when your baby is born, is your brother gonna watch him or are you gonna have to drop out of school like him? To that, Terry gets up and proceeds to beat his ass all up and through the classroom. Well, that was deserved. He definitely earned that one because he was itching for an ass whipping. So we go back over to the house and we see Michi, he comes back home and his mom and dad is sitting in the living room with a very, very somber mood. And it's kind of sad because you see Michi came home with the little Chinese food and he's all excited to share it with his family. And they just like, nah, baby, sit down. So they show him a gun. And basically the mom was like, I was in there cleaning the room and I found this. So the daddy, he didn't waste no time and goes on to start interrogating them. So are you a police officer? You some kind of secret agent? Because those kind of men need a gun to do their job. And he just starts going crazy on them. So then he goes on to tell him that he don't think that he wants him to be around his kids. So Meech was like, well, dang, just because you found a gun, I ain't your kid no more. So then the mama tries to intervene, and he told her basically to be quiet because he said what he said. And Terry walks through the door. So the daddy didn't waste no time and let him know that he was in the process of kicking his brother out because he found a gun. And unfortunately, Terry didn't step up. He didn't say anything. So that, I ain't gonna lie, that kind of pissed me off a little bit because it's already clear they don't care for Meech. And then your gun got him in trouble when he told you to get rid of it. But anywho, Michi ends up going in the back, and he comes back with a piece of paper, and it's essentially, well, not essentially, it is a foreclosure notice. So the money that he been giving to mama, I don't know what she been doing with it, but she ain't been paying the mortgage because they got days to get out. So then he offers the dad a wad of money, to which he pushes his hand away. So then Meech, in anger, he kind of cock his fist back. But you know how that goes. You can't go up against your daddy. He ends up spinning him around, putting the boy in a full Nelson, and darn near choked him out. So once he got himself loose, he let them know, look, I'll go, but y'all gonna be following in my footsteps. And he leaves. Ooh, just so sad. We open the next scene to Lil Meech in the bed. And he got this big, thick chocolate stallion on top of him, riding him down to the ground, baby. And it is none other than the Cash Doll, Detroit's very own. She's playing Meechie's baby mama, Monique. And y'all, if y'all ever wanted to know what them things be thangin' like, go ahead and pull this episode up, because we get to see the real her in all her glory. Lord have mercy. I couldn't believe they had her on that boy doing all that. But anywho, once they finished, she went and grabbed him a towel, and she hears a knock at the door. And it's that crazy ass man, Lamar. So apparently Monique and Lamar had some type of a fling going on before he went to prison. And she had a child, to which I guess Lamar initially thought was his. But she lets him know at the door, hey, I told you Zoe isn't yours. So after him, demanding and pleading to come in and try to see her, he finally gives up. But he did say, if she could give Zoe this necklace, and hands her a necklace and leaves. So later on, when Michi leaves her house, we see Lamar sitting in his vehicle, still watching her door. And he hits the gas and runs over Meech. So he tells Meech, next time, if he sees him around he's going to not miss. So Meech, because again, he's narrating, he lets us know, he ain't never been scared of a man a day in his life. But Lamar was absolutely crazy. In fact, he's legendary crazy. So he goes back, and they put up this cool map where they explain the way the whole area and territories are set up. So you have Detroit, River Rouge, and Ecorse. And the way that they are all positioned and so close in proximity, you can literally walk up 2 blocks and be in the next territory, and then make a left, go another 2 blocks, and now you're in the next territory. So that creates a lot of contention, obviously. Well, Lamar, he pretty much terrorized this entire area, all 3 locations. And he pretty much sold heroin and would rob all the little dope boys over there. So as a result, he kind of started building up a crew. But he ended up getting popped on an assault charge and went to jail. Around the time that Ronald Reagan got to clearing out the prisons and the mental institutions, he got out, and the very first thing that he sees is Michi at what he believes to be his woman's home. So now he's pissed. But what's even more incensing for him is the fact that now all his blocks, all the territories that he used to run and control are now no longer his, and he wants it back. So then we get a quick little scene of mom and dad basically just telling mom, or asking mom, like, why didn't you tell me that, you couldn't pay the mortgage? And she breaks down talking about how, it's not just the mortgage. I got to pay for food. I got to pay for clothes. I got to do this. I got to do that. This is why I got the second job at Wendy's. And I don't know, for me, it's just a little odd because I would think that as adults, you would know how much your bills are and you have budgeting and all that. So I just think it's odd that the dad had no clue that they were in foreclosure and wasn't bringing home enough money to make the ends meet. But at any rate, because they like to get real touchy-feely, he pulls her in, embraces her, and lets her know that regardless of what's going on, he got it and they're going to get through this. Okay. All right. So then we move on to Terry. He shows up at his baby mama's house, Wendy. And this is actually their baby shower. And Terry's like, here, I just came to drop a few things off, say hi, and then I'm out. So Wendy's like, really, it's family here that you haven't even met. And you really just gonna go? This is for our child? And he's like, I really just ain't with sitting around a bunch of girls opening gifts and talking about babies, which is rude as fuck. And I hope that my daughter never ends up with a man like that. But anyway, he ends up convincing her and he leaves the baby shower. Shame. So now we see Miss Griffin riding down the street, y'all. So she riding down the street, minding her business, and then she gets flagged by a cop. So who's the cop, you ask? It's Detective Bryant. That's right, the baseball coach down to the diamond. Now, again, I thought Meech was really trying to get a whole baseball game going on. But really what he was talking about is that park right across from the recreational field in E-Course. He wanted to set his drug operation up there. And he was basically asking Detective Bryant if he could handle the issue or nuisance that is Miss Griffin, a.k.a. the umpire. So he pulls her over, asks for her driver's license and registration, and then shows her a little bag of drugs. So she lets him know that, these tactics don't scare me and I don't care. And he was like, oh, no, but, I'm going to put this on your son. So he was like, I'm going to let you know, I can leave your son alone or you can leave him alone, at that park. So basically he's threatening her like, you going to let them boys do what they going to do or it's going to be some consequences. But you just let me know which way you want to go with it. Wow. All right. So now we see Michi going back home and his mom is there. So they sit down and they have like this really cool, like heart to heart conversation. And basically the mom is just saying to Meech that your brother Terry really soaks everything up. He loves you dearly. He looks up to you. So I need you to start making better decisions because the influence that you have over him is just far too great. Also, she let him know that when it comes to him, she feels like her and her father has done everything that they possibly could. They sent him to school. He dropped out. They got him a job and he quit. So she just feels like she doesn't know what else there is for him. So Michi's like, well, you know what? Everybody don't want to work at fast food. And she was like, well, you think I want to? You think I want to be here? But I got to provide for my family. Do you think you know something better than me? So Meech goes on to say, well, you always told me God works in mysterious ways. So maybe I'm your mysterious way. So the mama, she was just like, you know what? I can't take your money, but when you live long enough to know that your children are making mistakes that can ruin their life, you will then understand why I cannot take that money. So at this moment, I kind of heard that one of the brothers' kids were going to be playing them, but I didn't really do any research to figure out who was going to be playing who. And at that moment, I was like, you know what? Damn, this boy is playing the role. Terry must be the son because I'm going to be honest, I don't think Terry's acting is that good. So I'm thinking, he must have just got on in because he's the son. Well, no, this is actually Big Meech's son. And I gotta say, this young man is doing a phenomenal job. He is really capturing his father. I mean, I really respect what he's doing, and I can't wait to see where he goes behind this. So back over at the park, We see Terry and Michi meeting up with the 50 boys, and basically they having a little squabble because the only female in the crew, Kato, she sold a bag at half price. So they basically let her know, this is our brand. You can't be doing that. And, we need for you to, keep this at 50 like we do. But Terry kind of takes the opportunity to just kind of vent and say that he felt like this was a bad idea and they never should have came up there without a plan. So then they kind of strategize, and Terry uses that brain of his to come up with a great idea. So he said, let's go ahead and cook up a new batch. We'll give it to the best crackhead that we got over, in the chorus, Pumpkin. And Pumpkin, she gonna go back and tell everybody and bring the boys to the yard, right? So then they go in to do this little cute little Run DMC rap in the kitchen. And then if you ever were interested, they give us an end-to-end tutorial on how to cook crack cocaine. I'm talking about cooking, cutting, and bagging. Now, simultaneously, we see how the 50 boys are at the park giving Pumpkin some of that good rock. So Pumpkin, she goes, she lets all the other crackheads know. And before you know it, the 50 boys got the park down to the rec center on and popping. And Miss Griffin is pissed. So the boys get to Pat's party and, they just shining. The lights hitting the ice and it's twinkling and glistening. They got their furs on, their hats on, and they are ready to get their party on. So the other 50 Street Boys arrive. They looking good too. And obviously it's all eyes on them. Now, as we looking around the club, we see that, the whole gang's here. We got crazy ass Lamar, fresh out the mental house. He up there looking nuts. We see baby mama Monique with her big chocolate self at the bar with her homegirl getting some shots. Then we see J-Mo and his crew. They up in there. So J-Mo actually goes and approaches Lamar and asks him if he want to work with him. And Lamar says this weird cryptic thing like, I need you to do me a favor and send some warm milk to the daycare kids. And he looks at Terry and Meech. So, yeah, whatever that means. Then we see Kwame, the little bitch ass dude from the class or whatever. So Kwame, he comes in and Terry makes his way to him. And Kwame got a little crew, so he kind of feeling himself. So he says to him, that stuff you pulled in class ain't gonna fly. Terry says, fuck you, and fuck all these bitch ass niggas you came with. I mean, Terry wasn't scared of nobody. That dude had about 5-6 dudes around him, and he didn't care. He let them know, all of y'all. This for all of y'all. So, Meech walks up, asks if it's a problem, and obviously, they ain't want nothing with Big Meech, and he ain't nothing but a bitch, so he just walks away. So then as that kind of dies down, we see Miss Lala Anthony come walking in with her 80s furs and fashions. And baby, it must be good to be friends with 50 Cent because he keeps making sure she got a role. Now, we later find out that this is Markeisha. She's one of the wife of Pat's business partner, Boom. So they go over there and they introduce and they excuse Pat or whatever. And they go outside to talk to him and basically ask him for more money. So Pat was like, you know what? Y'all going too fast. Y'all need to slow down because this ain't the 40-yard dash. You don't want to end up in jail. So Meech, because, he always going to try to he always going to try to sell somebody on something. But he basically was like, Pat, we learned everything from you. We are on point. Why don't you believe that we can't, move more? So Pat said, well, I know you've heard of the saying, God don't give you more than you can handle. Well, as far as I'm concerned in this relationship, I'm God and we ain't getting no more. And he pretty much just shut it down and was like, let's go back in here and party. Wow. So then afterwards, we see Meech and Terry, meeting up on, it looks like the riverfront or lakefront. And my goodness, I don't know if y'all remember the song, It's So Cold in the Deep. We supposed to keep the peace. It's so cold in the deep. I'm telling you, if you ain't ever heard that, I strongly encourage you right now to go and Google the YouTube sensation that was It's so cold in the D. But anywho, it looks cold as hell out there in the D. But Michi is basically expressing how he's just getting tired of people telling him what they should do, what they supposed to be doing, what they got to do, etc. And basically he's like, look, we got to boss up. I'm pretty much tired of dealing with this, and I'm trying to become a king. So then they just say they little saying together: see it, touch it, obtain it. STO. See it, touch it, obtain it. So then at that point, Terry gets a page from Wendy, and basically she's letting them know she's in labor. So the whole family goes up to the hospital, and they share this cute little moment. Even though, you know, it's a lot of tension, it was really nice to see the family kind of bonding. So 2 days later, we see Terry and his girl. They getting home with their son. You know how it be when you first get home from the hospital, and immediately Michi calls him. So Michi's like rushing him, like, come on, man, you got to get out here. We got this meeting. We can't sleep on this. Let's go. And I mean, he is like worse than a flea on an elephant's ass about this. And even Terry's like, you know, I don't know if I really want to do that right now. You know, I just came on with my new baby or whatever. So Wendy actually says it's okay. So she said, I just need you to go out there and get the little pacifier for me. I think I left it in the car. So Terry goes outside. He sits in the car and reaches down to get the pacifier. And we see feet walking towards the car, to which we hear a gunshot. And then we see it. Terry has been shot in the face by someone we cannot see. So he hits the ground. Wendy runs out. She's hysterical, pleading, we just had a baby. I need you. Don't go. Please don't leave me. And then we hear Meech say, well, I guess there are a few things about this lifestyle that I might have regretted. And y'all, that was that. So drop down in the comments. Please let me know. What did you think about that first episode? I'm really liking the way that they are showing that there is such a contrast between the two of the brothers. But ultimately, if you know anything about the BMF boys, we know that at a point, that good boy side of him faded because they became some of the coldest gangsters ever. So please, y'all, like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification button. Talk to me in the comments. What did you think about this first episode? Again, I thank you all so much for listening. Thanks for coming to the table. I am Talia Tees, and you all have a wonderful day. Thank you.